Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream, and thank you very much for joining me as we're going to be doing some more new unit kit bashing. So if you tune into last week's stream, then you'll have an idea of what we're going to be doing in this stream. Pretty much the same formula. We're just going to be doing Crimson Fists instead of the Blood Angels. So hello to everyone who is in the chat already. Hello to everyone over on Twitch and on YouTube as well. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining me this evening. So we have Silver Scratch Built Productions, first time making a live stream. Hello. Max Morrison, Valrak rumor is that Pedro gets a refresh on the anniversary in a couple of years. I hope sooner. We never know. We never know with any refreshes or anything like that. So we can dream that we get refreshes sooner for any models, and you can guarantee as soon as I do a kit bash, it'll get refreshed anyway. Thankwell, I want Games Workshop to do successor range refreshes, but that'll be when I'm like 90 years old at this rate. Yeah, pretty much. Unfortunately, they're being quite slow at getting the main ranges out in Primaris. Primaris have been out for such a long time now. I don't know if it's like 10 years now. I think it might even be even older, but I can't remember. But yeah, we'll see. The recent Combat Patrol reveals they said first founding champion, so there is a hope that they do successor champs. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We can still dream. We can still hope and dream. Where is the emotional support Necromunda? Well, we are going to mention Necromunda in the stream, Yankee. It's not going to be focused on, but we're going to kind of ease into the stream. We're going to kind of just take a look at some of the news to begin with, talk about what's been going on in the Warhammer universe, and then from there we're going to move on to planning out these units. So we will briefly touch on Necromunda, but maybe I'll get the model out again at some point. We don't know. Necromunda mentioned. Right, okay, so we'll just kick straight into it. I think what the first thing we're going to do is basically look at the happenings in this last week. There's not been an awful lot, but there's a few things we can talk about. So let's get that up on screen. And first of all, latest article today. You can see anyone who watched my video from a couple of weeks ago will immediately recognize this guy on the front of the front and center of there he is. This guy. It's my Death Guard Praetor. So this is basically why I did this when Games Workshop were kind of mentioning to the creators that we're saying we're going to be sending out the Saturnine boxes. We want to get a couple of creators from to do a unit from each of the legions, and they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'll do a Death Guard Praetor. So I did. So this is we had the Loyalists. So these are all the creators who did the Loyalist ones. Some fantastic stuff in here. This one's very cool. I really like very kind of stark white and black on there for the Raven Guard. Lovely. Henry, Court of Paint, fantastic work. A little bit of conversion work as well. Man after my own heart. And yeah, some very, very cool Praetors. The BB miniatures, the jet bike was very cool. Quite a subtle conversion as well. Just a few small changes made to this one, just to kind of I think it's the Praetor model has been added in. Let me just double check. This did say in the comment. Liam painted the Primate Vulcan back when the Age of Darkness box set first released. You can use the excellent runners. No, that's a different one. Where are we? Okay, yeah, painted it when the Centurions and Mark II Crusader on, and Brennan modified the miniature's body to fit. Yeah, so he's basically modified this model here to go onto the jetpack. Very, very cool. Yeah, Richard Gray smashing it as always. Very, very cool Imperial Fists. Chris's, they are word bearers. Word bearers? Yeah, are they word bearers? Hang on. No, they're Raven Guard. Why are they red? I don't know. Anyway, very cool. Little conversions in there as well. You can see the little skulls on the arm there. Full squads by Colin. Vincent Notley, again, just doing tons of stuff. He pops up in the other one, and these white scars are very cool as well. A little bit of subtle conversion work. Always enjoy those. What else have we got? So we'll look at these ones. We have the Chaos. So Max did just put us all to shame and did tons of stuff. I just about managed, in like 4 weeks of work, just about managed to do the Dread Knight and then do the Praetor. A few Praetors. There he is. I enjoyed painting. That was a good model, that was. Very, very cool. Alpha Legion. The markings are very, very cool. Really nice scenic base as well. Quipsers. Quite like how they put everyone's tags in there. So if you do want to go follow these people, you can check them out for yourself. But yeah, really, really nice showing. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. But yeah, that's not actually what I wanted to talk about too much. I wanted to briefly mention two things. So first of all is Necromunda. We'll get the Necromunda stuff out of the way. We've got some new Helamites coming, and everyone remembers the I hope you remember the Thaltians, the Tau Auxiliary unit that I used from the Halamite. The Dustbacks? I can't remember what they're called, but the more Walker versions. Looking at these, I'm just thinking I can make some more Tau Auxiliaries out of those. Very, very cool models. Very, very great. Going to be perfect for kitbashing. I assume they're going to be plastic. I can't see anything that says specifically, but I assume that they are. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, plastic kit allows you to place the ash wings on scenic base toppers, and also includes flying stands for choice of poses. You can find their rules in Necromunda Tribes of the Wasteland. So yeah, very, very cool. Looking forward to those. Also, I am looking forward to these Palanites. Very, very cool models as well. I did forget to mention those in the past, but yeah, we'll have. Let's have a look at the comments. I probably should put the comments so I can actually read them, because I'm currently down here and everything's over here. What Crimson Fist unit are you going to do today? Well, we're going to work on that together. We're going to go through that with each other. We're going to get to it. We're going to go and we're going to figure something out at the same time. Raven Guard tremors are red and black. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's quite interesting to know. Scott, good day, Pete. First time catching a stream in a long time. Hope you're well. I'm very well, thank you very much. I hope you are as well. But yeah, we have one more thing to look at for the news. We're going to quickly look at that, and then we're going to get to the main meat of this live stream. So, a few weeks ago, you may remember we talked about the. I'm going to say I am obviously challenging Valrak's abilities of premonition and figuring stuff out that's going to come in the future. Because I think a few weeks ago, if you go back and look at that live stream that I did with the drop pods, I did say fully expecting the old style drop pod to make an appearance back as part of the Horus Heresy, either the new box or something like that. And lo and behold, coming next week article, and then we also get the news that the drop pod, the old classic multi-part foldable door version of the drop pod, is actually coming back. It's just going to be boxed up for the Horus Heresy. So yeah, if you missed that kit, then great, it's coming back. And I don't really see why they just bought. I can understand why they did that. I talked about this in the last stream. I fully get why they made the new drop pods. It's a cheaper kit for one, so it means you can run a lot more drop pods in a 40k army. And if you're not really bothered about doing a lot of building, if you're more of a competitive player, then having a kit which is maybe a little bit easier to build is quite appealing. But then if you still want to do the modeling side of thing, then you can access the Legion's Astartes drop pods. So yeah, we still have that. At least it's not gone, and it's not forgone. So we're cool. But yeah, anyway, we are going to talk about today's topic of conversation. I'm going to grab up the old paint, because we are going to be building ourselves some custom units for the Crimson Fist. Now, to my knowledge, there's never been any custom units for the Crimson Fist. There may have been some kind of nods to it in the lore, or maybe some conversions and articles on White Dwarf long ago, but to my knowledge, there's never been anything outside of specialist characters. So we're going to try and take the flavor, the background, the lore of what makes the Crimson Fist, and we're going to try and distill that into some sort of custom unit. We're going to go through a few ideas. We're going to work together. We're going to try and come up with some ideas that fits the background, fits their kind of identity as a chapter, and then we're going to hopefully build it as well. I've tried to get as many bits as possible. I've got all of my primary stuff. I've got some Horus Heresy stuff there as well. If I'm not mistaken, I can't get it up easy on here, but basically I did a little Photoshop mock-up, which is kind of a rough idea that I had. So if you watch the last stream, we're basically going to do that. So I think we kind of came up with 3 ideas last time, if I remember rightly. So we're going to do the same today. We're going to split this up into 4 sections. This bottom left section just being where my head goes, so we can have a nice clear area. So I think what I want to do is to have effectively a few different options that we can go for that kind of fit the theme. So I'm going to come up with one. So I want to hear your suggestions in the comments of unit types. First of all, we're going to be looking at what kind of things you would like to see, and then we're going to kind of build upon those. So the first one that I had was so it'd be Tacticus armor. I'll just put a Tacticus armor unit. So that's like your regular intercessor styles. And it's going to be in the line of Infernus Marines or Hellblasters, but instead of being armed with plasma weaponry, which is always been more Dark Angels, or flame weapon, which is more Salamanders, this is going to be bolters, specifically heavy bolters, and maybe even auto cannons. I'm thinking kind of effectively an anti-infantry unit. So if you think about, it's more of a long range than Infernus Marines. So Infernus Marines obviously anti-infantry, anti-horde. These are a little bit more kind of probably more medium Marine equivalent. So they're going to have a little bit more firepower. And the reason I'm thinking about that is, for one, it kind of fits quite nicely with that Imperial Fists kind of ancestry, and the fact that they do have lots of like bolter disciplines. If you look at some of the special rules that have come out for them, and some of the special characters have those kind of lean on bolter discipline quite heavily. So that makes sense. But also these guys are very well known for fighting the orcs. So having a specialist unit which is very good for larger horde type units, but not necessarily Tyranids, but ability to engage at long range, but with large numbers of enemies. I think some sort of tactical Marine with heavy bolters and autocannons, maybe with a little bit of orc hunting flair in there as well. So that's where that's the starting point. We're going to hopefully fill in the other 2, add a bit more flavor to these guys. So I'm just going to have a look at the chat and see if we've given if you guys have given me any ideas we can build from. So power armor Marines with storm bolters, breaches. Yeah, I think that was kind of a similar. Whatever unit needs a power fist or 2, obviously. So I think dual power fist. I like that one. Some kind of scout with really good targeting, so they don't blow themselves up. Just commenting on the blurred thumbnail, a Crimson Fist would not have a red helmet. So the reason why I did that one is basically just because, first of all, it looks more eye-catching on a thumbnail, just rather than a blue block when you've officially got it blurred out. But I also kind of like the idea of having a unit which is a little bit more slightly different coloured, or slightly different unit coloration from the rank and file, maybe demarking them as being an elite unit. So, for example, how you have the Deathwing, which are bone white armor compared to the regular green, and you also have the Ravenwing as well. So yeah, kind of how you can have different coloured armors, and like someone said earlier about the Raven Guard having the Terminators being in the red armor as well. So I quite like the idea of having a slightly different coloured armor. So that's my reasoning behind that one. My answer to that one is everything is always eliminators. What about a Terminator unit? Yeah, so Terminator unit's quite a nice idea, and it was something I was kind of playing with earlier. We didn't really touch on that in the last stream, so let's kind of table that. So we'll put that there. We'll come back to that one. Phobos Marine with 2 huge power fists. Heavy Intercessors maybe. Pointing guy could have a pointing fist. I don't know how lore accurate this is, but having one with power fist with bolter attached, like the Grey Knights, just have a bolt. So I think that's an idea that I did quite. So one of the things that I was thinking about was I think someone mentioned the new character as well, the new Games Workshop character. What is he called? Is it Captain Centos, I think? So obviously he is an Ultramarine, but he does have a bolt rifle and a power fist, which I think is quite a nice combination. It has a very strong Crimson Fists kind of feel to it. So I quite like the idea of some sort of unit which is basically maybe looking at a specialist assault intercessor unit, which has some sort of everyone's got a power fist, but they also have bolters as well that maybe could be wrist mounted storm bolters, similar to the Grey Knights or something like that. So potentially that. Aggressors could be dope. Already have big fists. Yeah, they could do. Yeah. Company veteran squad separate from the company heroes. Crimson Fist Tech Marine, so they can carry around more than 2 power fists. Maybe a kind of an Unforgiven type squad. Instead of being the best warriors and the sinners of the chapter, that there is redemption. Interesting. Sergeant with 4 bionic limbs. Some kind of Belay Guard veteran with a power fist. Okay. Always great to have a left-handed power fist, I agree. Yeah, a little more Templar-inspired unit like the 30k fist. So, I quite like the idea of having the Terminators. Terminators works as an idea. I think that works quite nicely. We will come back to how we approach that. There's a few options for Terminators. The tactical. So I think this kind of leaves us some sort of Phobos unit, but again, that doesn't really sit well for me. The only kind of thing that I think would work well for a Phobos unit would be some sort of like maybe specialist orc hunters, in the same way that you have the I forgot his name. It's the Phobos character that you have, the one that's a lone operative. I always forget the name of him, but he's got the Tyranid kind of armor on his pauldron, which would work quite nicely for that kind of orc fighting specialist. So we've got an option for Phobos there. Yeah. Some Centaurians. I'm not building a Centaurian on stream. It'll take most of the stream to do that. There's always a part of Rin's world where the Crimson Fists have to use orc weaponry. Really scrappy kind of unit, messing around with a shooter or big shooter. Dreadnought Scouts, Aggressor or Interceptor on foot is my vote. Combi Lieutenant. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about. Get some Centaurians for Paul's sake. Aggressor or Interceptor on foot is my vote. Phobos Orc Specialists who have bayoneted carbines. Okay, yeah, interesting. Apparently they were once reduced to just 120, so maybe some super veteran that was one of the 128 as a personal number that indicates which of the 128 he was. Okay, I quite like that idea. I quite like the idea of some sort of Phobos, because it reminds me of the Tyrannic War veterans. They were quite a nice. For anyone who isn't familiar, they had some very, very cool. Obviously, by today's standards, it's different, but very cool looking models at the time. Lots of kind of like cybernetics. Didn't really go super heavy on the trophies though, but I think the aesthetics that they had were pretty cool. There was some, yeah. This piece of artwork is very cool. I always like that piece of artwork. Yeah, I quite like that idea. Maybe more of a close combat unit. Because Phobos, orc, vet. Okay, that's veterans and not kind of medical practitioners specifically for the orcs. So we have our templates. We have a little bit of kind of an overview. So I'm thinking these are infantry light vehicle. Okay. So anti-infantry, anti-light vehicle. Terminators. Okay, Terminators. What are we thinking? I think fists is a given. We need to have fists in there. So, what I'm immediately drawn to personally is So if we think about Terminator units, we have a few different we have 2 specialist units, Terminator units, if I'm not mistaken. We have the Deathwing Knights, and we also have the Wolf Guard. Now, the Wolf Guard are kind of just, for the most part, they're not too dissimilar from regular Terminators, but the Deathwing Knights are very, very specific in terms of their styling. So I'm kind of thinking fists and shields. Oh my god, it's a terrible H. Fists and shields. Mainly because I think it provides quite an interesting... it kind of creates like an interesting variation, because you always see Terminators with power fists. Sometimes you see the Terminators with like a storm shield, but then also you have them with thunder hammers, or you see them with lightning claws. You never see that combination of a power fist and a shield. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Space Marine 2, you can actually run the class that has the shield. You can run those with a power fist close combat weapon. I always thought it looks pretty cool, so I think that makes it. Takeda, good evening, Pete. Good evening. First couple of first-time chatters over on Twitch. Maybe a Desolation Bolter Marine style. Backpack-mounted autocannon and wielding a bolter. Very cool, yes. I like that idea. I think this is going to fit nicely into this section up here. G359, one should have a power claw. Up to you, though. Also, hello. Yeah, that might work for this one. I think some looted weapons would work pretty cool there. Let's. So the only problem with this leaning down this orc, so I don't think I have any orc or many orc components to hand. Probably should have thought this earlier, but we can go through it anyway. Cat God, well, thank you very much for bestowing me £2. I appreciate it. Love the content. First time catching you live. Well, thank you very much for gracing us with your godly feline presence. I appreciate it. Beaky Apothecary. There's a rogue trader art with one that looks like cool. I haven't seen that one, but that would be pretty cool. A Kitbash Lysander could fit very well for those fist shield Terminators. It could do very, very well indeed. He said breaches with fists louder than I. Yeah, I think some I don't think I've ever seen a Terminator with a shield and just a power fist, but I think it would work quite well. It's probably... Let's see how doable that is first, because I don't want to go too far down that avenue. So if we go based on regular Terminators, I'll just search for it easier. Okay, so of course I only opened up the image. So immediate issue with doing it this way is if I use these shields, then obviously the fists are left-handed, so we have left-handed power fists and left-handed shields. The solution, I guess, would be to just kind of chop off one of these hands, maybe put a Grey Knight's hand there, or something, work something out so I can swap this around, so have a kind of a left-handed power fist and then a right-handed shield, or potentially use an aggressor's right hand, but again, those have the weapons on them. I'm trying to avoid any range weaponries with these guys, so yeah. The Bulwark can run fists and shield, yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. I think it was pretty cool. Heresy Custodians could run fists and shields as well. That's pretty cool. What if Terminators have a bolter mounted on their armor? So maybe on the back, possibly. Jump pack breaches. Trying to keep a... Turns out 128 is 2 to the power of 2 to the square root of 7. So if we want to do a personalized number, it could be written as binary number between 0, 0, and 1. Yeah, having done computer programming at university and then spending 10 years, I can read binary as well. So I could figure that out. I haven't done it for a while, but you could do it. Could you do it in less than 7? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Yeah, 7. Yeah. I'm surprised Grey Knights didn't get a power fist. That's true. That is very, very true. What about a shoulder-mounted bolter like Marvel's War Machine? That could work. Something based on suppressors, maybe. I do like the suppressors. I don't have many suppressors, though, so building them would require probably a lot of commitment. They're very hard to get a hold of, unfortunately. Take the fist off the Gravis Captain. Would need some work, but is right-handed. Nice idea. Could use a left-handed lightning core. Yep, that's possible. I might have some heresy ones I could use for those. That's a thought. Heresy. Let's look at the fists for those. Do the Phobos. Yeah, so these ones. There we go. Okay. So yeah, that's a good idea. I do actually have my... I hope I have the... but yeah, perfect. Good idea using the lightning claws, because these just are normal fists with a lightning claw stuck to it, so I could easily liberate one of those fists, I think. Yeah, quite easy to do that. Okay, cool. That's that problem solved. So we could have the shield on the right. So okay, so I think in terms of feasibility, that's working. So we have a fist and a shield. This one, okay. So I'm thinking Phobos. Personally, I'm always more of a big fan of the Incursors / Infiltrators rather than having the Reavers. I like the Reavers, but I'm not a huge fan of their weapon loadout. So we could possibly review that, but I do like the idea of having an Orc Power Claw. So that would be pretty cool. Maybe for like the unit leader. Yeah. Okay. Grenades and fist. Yeah, okay. I think we've got a few good ideas to go off, I think, so far. I'm kind of liking that they do feel fairly distinct, but they still feel within the universe of within that kind of that universe still. So I'm quite happy with what's going on here. So I think we need to make this one's fairly. This is probably the most simplistic, most straightforward of the builds, because this is probably going to be more of your battle line, I guess, in the similar way that an Infernus Marine is. So I'm not sure how to kind of, beyond sticking a heavy bolter on something, we maybe, if we want to explore this one a little bit more, we maybe need to push forward with that, and maybe find a different aspect that we can work on. Common Crimson Fist trophy is Orc Teeth. Well, I've got my Dead Animal Bits kit handy, so I can borrow some Shark Teeth. That's quite an easy one to borrow. Devastator with big cannons and guns feels fitting of the Crimson Fist. Just give the guys comically large power fists like the size of the entire guy. Okay. Okay. So, I like the idea of the Phobos ones. I think as an idea that works really well, and especially for a character idea, I think it works particularly well. Maybe having a Crimson Fist character which is a veteran of those last few Crimson Fists. I think maybe running them as units would be. I think units would be. How am I going to phrase this? It wouldn't be the best use of that small amount of troops. I think disseminating them through the ranks as maybe specific unit leaders or lieutenants or captains or more specialist roles, I think would be better use for those. And I think having this kind of, it would also make sense as to why there would be so many of them rather than having them grouped together. Could work as a group, maybe as a 3-man. I guess the Inner Circle companions work well for the. Yeah, I'm kind of talking in circles here. Yeah, I do like. I think a character would give me more options in terms of customizations of how I could make that single character look more characterful. That would work well. I'm leaning into the Terminator idea at the moment. I think that's where I'm feeling the most. So we also have, the great thing about the Terminators is, if we just jump back to here, I can easily borrow these shields. That's not an issue. Let's go on to Space Marines, Imperial Fist. So we have the Imperial Fist upgrade sprue. So obviously that gives us, this is basically Crimson Fist as well, because the iconography is pretty much the same. So that gives us this nice tilt shield that would work well on the Terminators with painted up in red. Yeah. Okay. Brutalis Fist based on a Saturnine Terminator, that would work very well. I think what we're going to do from here, we're going to run a poll over on YouTube. I'm sorry if you're watching this on Twitch. I don't know how to do the polls on Twitch, so I'm just going to run it on YouTube. We've got few more people over on YouTube anyway, so I think it's probably gives us a fairer. So let's kind of set up a poll, and we're going to set it up of which unit we should pursue. We're going to still work on this one. I think it's going to be 2 rounds. The last time I did this, it was kind of 2 were level pegging, and then 1 was like very much not. So what we'll do, we're going to run the so heavy bolter unit, Terminators, and then the final option is the Phobos character. I'll include that. We might be able to get away with it. I'm not 100% sure how easy it's going to be to actually pull that off based on the components that I have, but we can always try. So we're going to start the poll. So which units should you like me to continue with? Oh Lordy, it's up to us. Yeah, it is. I'm going to basically put the entirety of the direction of this stream. So the success of the stream is all dependent on the audience. So no pressure. So far, Terminators are in the lead by quite a bit, actually. Phobos and Heavy Bolter units are probably behind. I think everyone's quite eager to see the Phobos. Whilst this poll runs, we're going to see which... Hopefully, I have some Power Fists that we can use. So I have some Cataphracti. Do I have Tartarus? Sadly not. We don't have any Tartarus, but we can make do with the Cataphracti. That's not a big deal. I do quite like the rounded weaponry of Tartarus a little bit more. That's not a problem. Also, that's quite a just looking at the Horus Heresy unit box as well. The close combat weapons upgrade sprue for the Horus Heresy actually has these the fists, which are 1 for each hand. I think you get 1 for each one in there. So these ones are going to be a little bit trickier. Hopefully, I might have some knocking around somewhere that I can potentially use, but these are going to be a little bit tricky just because of the tacits. So we'll see. We'll see how we get on with those. How's the poll running? Yeah, I think the Terminators are probably going to be the ones that we're going to be focusing on this one, I think. Pete's going to have to go to the garage again. Not the garage. I don't actually know. I have a vague idea where they are, but I can't guarantee that is actually where they are. So we're not going to go into the garage. We're going to go and we're going to go have a look and see if it's in the bits box. We'll have a look. Bear with me. So I haven't really done much in the way of Tartarus stuff. I do have some Tartarus knocking around, but they were ones that were left over. I have absolutely tons and tons of Cataphracti. Now, these aren't going to work quite as well, simply for the reason that they have their lightning claws as separate hands, so that's not ideal. That's a shame. That is a real shame, because the Tartarus would have worked really cool. Do hope you make some vids based on these two streams. Are a bit hard to have 2 hours to watch. Yeah, so I do like to do these streams just because it's a bit more of a different approach to a video than what is a normal video. It kind of provides the opportunity to actually have some sort of engagement, and you can see the process and how ideas build up to become what they are on these videos. So the only trouble is, obviously, that I do understand that they are kind of long form and they're not as to the point. I do a lot of this waffling in the time. I will probably turn some of these into ideas in the future. It's just, these are just a way of me to that's why I call them like the pizza prototypes on the thumbnail, just as an idea. So if you enjoy them, then let me know. I think I was planning on doing some sort of thing maybe where I could do things like, if you were a super chat or join as a member, if I get so many in a stream, then I'll actually go on and make that video. But I didn't kind of want to force it, really. I don't know. Right, so we need to figure out the shield. We're doing Terminators, by the way, everyone. I think I'm really behind the shield and Power Fist combination. So we have two options. The shields, I have the Deathwing Knights. Let me grab the Deathwing Knights. Right. So. Somewhere in here there are Deathwing Knights. Okay. So, let's have a look at these. So these shields would require quite a bit of trimming down. This one not so much. This one's quite a straightforward one. This one would cut down really easily. I think this one requires a bit more work, but from behind, they're actually, apart from this little indentation here, they're actually quite clear of any debris or extra like hands attached. So it wouldn't be impossible to use these with a right hand instead, and then have the Power Fist as the regular. Just use the Blade Guard shields. Let's have a look. I think I've got some Blade Guard to hand. Let me just find them. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Literally on the top of the box there. Could just use Blade Guard. Let's see how they look against the Terminator. Do I have any Terminators to hand? Where are my Raptors Terminators? Found them. Okay. So I can use these as a kind of a rough guide to see how everything looks. Okay. So I think in terms of size, obviously they're about the same size, aren't they? I think that the Blade Guard shields are ever so slightly bigger. They cover a little bit more of the surface, but not terrible, really. They're kind of... It would require an awful lot less work. This still fits into the actual Crimson Fist iconography. So And actually the inside's probably even more easier to adjust. Okay. What if you scratch build the shields from plasticard to look more utilitarian? I am bad with plasticard. That is what I'm going to say with that one. I can do a little bit of plasticard work. I can do a little bit of adding maybe a little bit of extra armor, but generally speaking, when it comes to plasticard, I try to stay away. I would rather sculpt than doing plasticards. Damn, darn, garage quest denied. The Ogren slab shield, that would work. Would be ideal size as well. That would be pretty cool. Okay. So I think I like the blade guard idea. I think that works quite well. I think the only limiting factor about the blade guard idea is if you were to kit bashing this from a larger squad, I think you only get maybe 4 shields if I'm not mistaken, with the blade guard kit. So you couldn't actually. I guess you could have one unit as like a special unit with like a different weapon, maybe like an autocannon or something. Okay, we're gonna get some Terminators out, so I need to find out where my Terminators are. And whilst I'm in here, I'm going to try and find my Imperial. There we go. Okay, everything's really easy to find today. This is unusual. Let's grab both of those out. We don't have other than the Raptors, who's your favourite chapter? Do Grey Knights count as a chapter? Because if they do, I'm going to say Grey Knights. I really like that's why I've done quite a few videos on Grey Knights so far. I think I did Keldor Drago, which is no rules anymore, so unfortunately you kind of just have to be used as a Grandmaster or something. I did a Grey Knights kill team at one point, and I've obviously also did the big guy whose video went up on Saturday. Yeah, so I'd say Grey Knights. I really like their aesthetic, personally. I think I quite like the idea of an elite unit which sits adjacent to Space Marines and kind of their own flavour, but are still effectively Space Marines. One of the ideas that I've been toying with as a continuation to my custom Primarch series was one which it kind of fits quite nicely within the lore of the 40k universe as is. It's not necessarily an alternate heresy, but was making a Primarch of the Grey Knights, almost kind of having one of the Primarchs was forgotten about, but necessarily wasn't disgraced and forgotten about. They almost were set out on like a secret mission, so they were very much apart from the rest of it, and it's their gene seed that is used to create the Grey Knights. So they're kind of like, yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't know how I would approach that one, but yeah, some sort of Primarch of the Grey Knights would be pretty fun to build. I don't know how particularly well it works in terms of the lore. It probably doesn't work very well at all. Probably goes in the face of a lot of the mystery and kind of the shrouded in secrecy aspect of the Grey Knights. But yeah, I think a Grey Knight Primarch would be a pretty fun build. So yeah, potentially see that in the future. We're looking for Terminators, aren't we? That's what we need. We have vehicles. Do we have Terminators? So some of these boxes are very well organized, and other ones are not very well organized, because the boxes that I had that were well organized had too many things in, so I couldn't add more stuff in. We'll find some, don't worry. We definitely have some. The Paul Principal, thank you so much for that Dreadnought video. You're very welcome. I very much enjoyed doing that one. Very much enjoyed doing that one. Where Oh, okay. This is interesting. Is it Tor Garridan? I have a few parts left over from the kit bash that I did for him. That's a That would be a very good model for this if I was doing a character, but I think for a unit... Terminators. We have Terminators. Wonderful. We found them. We found them. Is that both sets of them? Okay, cool. Just need the instructions to make sure I'm building everything properly, and then we're good to go. We can crack on. I do have the Terminator instructions somewhere, but where they might be is not in here. We're gonna have to guess at how these guys are built. Are we barrel drillers in here? Yes, we are. We're very much barrel drillers. Speaking of alternate Primarchs, how is the Gene Stealer Lorgar coming along? So he's kind of still in limbo at the moment. My plan, I've got one more video to do. I've got one more video to do, which will be releasing next week, and then the next video was hopefully things might change. He might get pushed back again, but I have some idea. He's either going to be in he's going to be the second video of August, or he's going to be the first video of September. I haven't quite decided yet. But either way, he is being worked on. He is still on the table. He is ready to be. There's a few changes though. I think having had a model sat on my desk for quite a while, I've actually kind of thinking maybe there's some ideas and things I didn't quite do well enough, or I'm not sure. $10 says he's going to use a line model for the base of the Grey Knight Primarch. I mean, it's a good model. It's a good model. It works. No, to be fair, we're going to go sidetracked here because I just want to double check something. It's something I've not tested. I do have the model, but I've not actually tested it out. Is the new Logan Grimnar model? People have said that like he's effectively the size of let's just grab that one. He's not far off Primarch size, which is quite interesting. Let's remove my head so you can actually see. There we go. Okay, so he's in Terminator armor, so that kind of puts him a little bit low, but he's also in. He's kind of leaning down as well, so that actually is quite surprising by the scale of that one. I thought it gets Gilman in there as well. Let's see how we're looking on that one. Yeah, surprisingly, he's not too dissimilar in terms of size, so you could maybe even use this as a lot of like iconography. You'd have to chip down to use it, but it's not impossible. Not impossible. You see how much the Saturnine Praetor mogs the old Horus model? Yeah, it's quite interesting really, just to see how different in terms of scale the new Saturnine stuff is. I think that's kind of what made me think would be quite good. Like you could even use one of these. If you look in terms of size and scale, they are pretty hefty. So yeah, there's always an option there. Okay, so we need to actually start working on a model here. Let me grab my clippers and we can make a start. So I don't have any instructions, so we're just going to go in this blindly, and hopefully the numberings of the legs don't kind of. So normally, if it's in the same section, it's normally the same. So if it's a 73, should work with 74, 77, yeah, 70, it's random 32, 74. So yeah, let's go for. But then what torso does this work with? That's the only thing. What legs do 30? Is there a 70 torso? Number 1. Okay, this is not one of those straightforward ones. Let's grab the instructions online. We'll grab the instructions online. Good old Reddit. Okay. Which ones do the 73 go with? I've got those already, so let's see. Okay, so they do fit the 70, they're just in different parts on the sprue. Okay, so we're gonna go for the 70s. So yeah, 70 there. $70. Where do we have 71? 71 there. And we also need, where's the number that we needed? 72. Okay. And that's the inner section of the. This is incredibly. So some of the kits are actually really nicely laid out. The Horus Heresy kits are actually really nice. Everything's pretty much in the rough vicinity, which is actually very refreshing and very easy to follow when you're building as well. So where are the legs for the 70s again? Oh, they're right next to it. How did I miss those? Okay. They were closer to each other than I initially suspected. So we kind of need a few more ideas as well. I think we've got a good basis for this idea. We've got obviously the shield works well. Having a power fist works well too. But I do think we need to maybe think about some other options that we can possibly employ just to give them a little bit more of a custom flair. Be it an aesthetic change, be it a difference in weaponry, anything like that. So if you have any ideas of what we could potentially do, then do let me know in the comments, and I shall try and keep it out. We need one more piece of the leg, which is that we are after 75 and 78. So I think I clipped away 78, so we just need 75. Wherever that is. 75, 75. This is the probably the most boring part of watching these streams, is just to watch someone completely fail to find a number on a sprue. It's incredibly. I know what the piece looks like, but I can't see. I'm completely blanking on the location of this. Is it on this? Oh, of course. Yeah, of course it's on a completely different sprue. Just randomly in the middle there, in between every other piece of all the pauldrons and everything. Okay. I'm not taking the blame for that one. That was definitely a Games Workshop issue. Have the shield held by servo arms to help keep the hands free. I really like that idea, but I really like that idea for Iron Hands. I think that would work incredibly well for Iron Hands. I think having some servo arm terminators for Iron Hands would be very, very cool. I know they have their own. Is it Medusa or Medusae or something like that? They have their own specific Heresy era unit as well, don't they? Dead Orc bits, yeah. Well, this is the great thing about the Dead Animal Bits kit, because you can use it for lots of different options. You can use it for orcs, you can use it for Carcharodons, you can use it for whatever you want. There's plenty of options. The teeth in there are just teeth, so you can use them whatever you feel like. Given Black Templar greeblies, like the bones, baubles, and bits, I think that works. Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit unsure where to go in terms of the aesthetics of the Crimson Fist, because they're kind of set in a weird part of, and I'm sure there's probably going to be someone in the chat who can really explain this lore to me, probably better than my understanding is, but the Imperial Fist kind of obviously created the Black Templars, and they created the Crimson Fist. So the Crimson Fist were the kind of the successors which were more Codex compliant, I guess, in that regards. but they still kind of reserve that tenacity that the Imperial Fists have. Whereas the Black Templars were more, what's his name now? Sigismund. They kind of followed the more kind of crusader stylings of Sigismund in that aspect of the original Imperial Fists. So kind of like how it's almost like the groups who were very much Codex compliant kind of became Crimson Fists and remained as Imperial Fists as well. And then the ones who were kind of like, no, we want to do something very different, they went down the Black Templar route. That's always been my understanding. But I never really felt like the Crimson Fist had quite the same, like, really distinct aesthetic. I really think a beaky helmet conversion would fit the Crimson Fist feel. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. I don't know how a beaky helmet would work with Terminator armor. I think it's definitely been done in some old Rogue Trader. I don't know why I'm cleaning up all of these mod lines, because that's not what I do on these videos, because it takes too long. So I'm going to just remove the sprue tabs and we can deal with it from there. Crimson Fist and Black Templar stole all of the Imperial Fist Riz apart from the fangs. Yeah. The younger Marines got to be the Crimson Fists, while the older Crusaders got to the Templars. Crimson Fists work a lot with the Ultramarines, so they take after them quite a bit. So, what would people think about then? So there's Pedro Cantor. I know there's Pedro. Is there another Imperial Crimson Fist character? I'm just going to go off on a tangent here, because I feel like there is, and I'm potentially. Oh, Alessio Cortez. I think this is who I'm thinking of. Okay. Yeah, this is the old model that I was thinking about. Alessio Cortez. And I believe this is he a nod to Alessio Cavatore as well? So yeah, in terms of aesthetics, it is still very kind of generic, isn't it? He has obviously the big Crimson Fist, which is great for that kind of style, but he has mainly generic Space Marine stylings, I suppose. Lots of eagles, the wreath, the laurels. I think a lot of these other characters are probably just lore characters, as opposed to, yeah, none of these were actually miniatures, were they? So, okay, here's what I'm thinking. This is where my brain is kind of rattling away at the moment. So, if we look at Horus Heresy, we look at their aesthetics, lots of kind of Legion specific kind of stylings. That's kind of inherent across all of the legions. We have the plumes, we have kind of the auxiliaries and things like that. The Vexilias, sorry. So we have all those kind of stylings. Now, the only kind of chapters that retained those kind of stylings, well, the only legions that became chapters were the Ultramarines, and people have said obviously they have a kind of, they do have a similar vibe to the Ultramarines. I've always thought, like halfway between Imperial Fist and Ultramarines. So I'm thinking to give these guys a little bit more, as someone else said, Alexis Paulus is another character. Someone else said about the Crimson Fist and Black Templar stealing the Imperial Fist Riz. I'm thinking maybe we kind of lean a bit more into that kind of, we maybe try and figure out a way of getting some plumes or some sort of more kind of Romanesque stylings in there. Okay. Yeah, Pedro Cantor is probably the one that everyone knows the most about. Let's have a quick look at the aesthetics. Yeah, I get. You know what? He's got the Tarugis at the bottom there. So yeah, very much kind of The tsurugis, the wreath, yeah, the laurels. Okay, these are effectively just going to be Imperial Fists. What if the Imperial Fists and Ultramarines had a baby? That's basically what the Crimson Fists are aesthetically. So we're going to lean into that a bit more. I've got a lot of Horus Heresy components that we can use for this, so that's going to be no problem whatsoever. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm confident that's going to work. The Tsurugus from the Ultramarines upgrade would work. Yes, they would work very well. I think there's a lot of oh, Pollux is a Horus Heresy model. What's his name? Pollux. I'll put just what Horus Heresy Pollux. Okay. Okay, first chapter master of the Crimson Fist chapter of Space Marines. Okay, so this gives us a little bit more guidance as to where we can go. So, let's take a look at this guy. So, I mean, he's very kind of Imperial Fist in appearance there, isn't he? Very much kind of Imperial Fist. But I think... there you go. Look, he's got a Storm Shield in his right hand, which is what we're literally being forced into doing. And he's got a Power Fist in his left hand. Perfect. There we go. This is the template. This is what we're working towards. It's all coming together. It's all meshing. Oh, he's a combi melter as well. That's pretty cool. That would be pretty cool for like a unit specialist. Having a the heavy weapon of the unit being a multi-melter rather than being a heavy flamer or assault cannon. That'd be pretty cool. Okay. Okay, I think we've got some direction now. So we've got an hour. We've kind of used the first hour of the stream to get some ideas. Once everything starts being put together, it will start coming together quite quickly. So I'm not worried that we're going to spend too long on this. Did I actually even switch the screen? I can't remember if I switched the screen. But yeah, just in case everyone is not... yeah, this is kind of what we're going to be looking to build effectively, but in Terminator armor. I can't remember if I switched camera at that point, so just for those of you who have no idea what's going on. Oh yeah, okay, cool. I didn't switch it. Thank you, Sahujo. Thank you very much. The new Captain Centos model is ripe for kitbashing into Pedro Cantor. Yeah, definitely. He's pretty much as Pedro Cantor as an Ultramarine. Okay, and we're going to get rid of that as well. So I think everything has been cleaned up to the point where it should be able to be assembled at this stage with any luck. Just removing the sprue tabs more than anything, nothing much more than that one, just to save on the time. Normally I would go in and clean up all these components, make a nice clean job of doing this, but time is of the essence. So we're going to start assembling things together first. Let's get the legs in place. Do a nice quick assembly. And then we can start the actual customization. So I'm going to get this done. I'm going to dig into the Horus Heresy box, wherever that is, and we're going to figure out what we can stick to this guy. Okay. Cat God is back, and Cat God is bestowing yet more more money onto me as well. Thank you very much for the £2. I really appreciate it. Right, okay, so this is going to give it... I've assembled this in an incredibly strange way, but it is done. There we go. We have the basis of the model. Okay, so we can actually start thinking about how to approach things. So, right hand is definitely going to be a power fist. So I'm just looking at some of my grey knights. So I think in terms of the actual fist itself, we're going to have to probably cut down one of the Stormbolter fists just because of the way that the hands... We don't actually have any empty right hands. I don't think we do. I think we have loads of empty left hands because the Grey Knight Terminators have them. I think there's some other units which have them as well, but I don't think any of these ones do. So... Right, okay, so we're going to get a Power Fist. I think the Power Fist that we choose is going to be very much heavily dependent on what we have on the right-hand side of the shield, and how we position that shield. So that's going to be the big aspect. We're going to grab one of these Storm Shields first, just so we've got one handy. Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to work quite nicely. I think we need probably... The pointing Terminator Fist probably seems to be the most interesting pose-wise, but I feel like that might be a bit... what's the word? Just a bit... obvious, I guess? So, okay, first of all, we can... This is a little trick that I like to do. If you think about the pose of the legs, to get a more naturalistic pose, you've kind of almost got to... Just as a perfect example of a finished model. So if you look at this model, you can see that the left leg is slightly forward and the arms basically mirror that. So the left leg is further forward, the right arm is further back. It kind of mimics how the arms would naturally swing when you're moving, when you're walking, sorry. So what we want to have is, if we have something which is like this, we need to maybe start thinking about having the arm coming this way and then the other arm being slightly back. It doesn't need to necessarily be all the way back. It just needs to be effectively, I would say, at the bare minimum, in line with the body, but no further forward. It can go back, but no further forward. And that just kind of helps to tie the model. It's one of those weird little psychological things which you can't put a finger on why a model looks weird. This is a good example of a model that I've built. So you can see how this leg's forward, so I've built this fist back. I've built this arm leaning forward, and it kind of helps to give the model a sense of movement. Now, if I put this arm back and put the fist forward, it kind of has a different kind of flow, and it feels too front heavy. It kind of helps to balance. Anyway, I'm just waffling, but yeah. Little tip when you're building your models. So I need an arm which can work well being held forward. I think a fist with clench works quite well for that one. So let's try this one, see how this looks on. You know what? I actually have some pre-clipped ones somewhere, I think. I would rather use the pre-clipped ones than use the ones which are fresh on the sprue. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. I actually have the exact same one that I was looking for. Yeah, so we'd stick that onto there. We're going to stick on the... Get out the bits box. We're going to stick on the regular power fist for this one. Just nothing too fancy with this one here. Is this one of the ones that you have to use on like specific arms, or do they work on all of them? Oh, it's one of those, isn't it? So I've got to use a specific arm with the... Okay, that's incredibly frustrating. That's not the one either, I don't think. Nope. There you go. That's the one. Close enough, at least. Okay, so that can go back in the bits box. There we go. So I'm just going to clean these up quickly of any of the sprue tabs, and then we can actually start to get stuff put together. The tilt shield from the Crimson Fist, sorry, the Imperial Fist box set is going to work very well for this. I think just adding that little bit of Imperial Fist flair will work quite nicely. Unfortunately, I don't think... No, they don't quite fit over. I don't think they're big enough, but those would work really nicely. Shame we don't have any Terminator Fists on here, but oh well. Yeah, that works well. Let's get this full armor plate in place. If Crimson Fist has spike shields, the spikes would be on the inside. Yeah. Unknown Host 222 are on Twitch. I hate that we don't get new Terminator shoulder pads for the other legions. Yeah, it's a shame. We have obviously anything that's been released post, anything that got released post the new Terminator kits did get them. The Blood Angels upgrade sprue comes with them. The Dark Angels upgrade sprue comes with them. But anything that's pre then does not have them, which is a shame. But hopefully we can hope that in bare minimum we see some upgrade sprues that are along the same kind of levels as the Dark Angels and those kind of style upgrade kits, just because I think it's kind of quite necessary. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we're just going to have this arm. We're going to try and make it so it's ever so slightly forward, and then we can basically, I would say that the angle of the model requires the head to face this way and the shield kind of being held here. So we need to find an arm which is, again, we can have slightly angled back. So I'm thinking an arm with a bend in it. And I'm spying this one here. So that one would work quite well. If we get a bit more of a stronger bend, that would work well as instead. This one, how's that one look? Yeah, that one works. Okay, let's go for that one. So I appreciate we're not doing much in the way of conversion work here yet, but once I've got this arm in place, we can start to look at it. So, right, so we need a Terminator hand. I'm just going to grab this one, I think. I'm just going to grab this. Hogdog096, thank you very much for subscribing with Prime. I appreciate it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rescue this fist here. It's going to be quite easy to remove because it kind of would be holding on to something anyway. I'm going to try and do is kind of fine a cut along there as well, retaining as much of the hand as possible, and then that's going to be the hand which kind of goes into this shield, and then we can kind of have the shield like that. So I think that would work quite nicely for that. There's a few ways you can do this. There's a very kind of easy way, which is using just clippers, or you can use a saw. We're going to use the easy way. It's a little bit more tricky, so you have to be more careful, but it is much easier to do than the saw. So you just kind of cut a little bit wider than you want. You do end up losing more of the actual stone bolter than maybe you want to, but we're just going to slowly trim all this down now. Just doing a little bit at a time, making sure we keep as much of the hand as possible. We don't want to cut into the hand, just the bolter itself. And that bit as well. And that bit as well, and that bit as well. And we can start using a knife for the rest of it. And so when we start to like reform the shape of the hand now. So there's a little bit there, so we can cut that away. And it's a little bit too fiddly to do with the clippers, but the knife is quite ideal for this kind of work. The handle I'm not worried about. I'm going to keep that, I think, the bottom of the handle at least. The pistol grip, it kind of works well for the handle for the shield. And again, this is going to be more of a proof of concept, so I'm not looking for really crisp, clean finishes here. Get that focus a little bit more, so you can see how much of the hand I've kind of retained there. If I wanted to spend a little bit of time, I can quickly do that actually. I will spend a tiny little bit more time on this. So there's a little bit of a line there just where the arm would be. So I'm just going to quickly just add a little bit of a groove in there. It's not entirely necessary, especially for this kind of work, but just helps add a little bit of decoration between the fingers and the actual plate that sits at the back of the hand. Okay, we'll go from there. How did you go about making a Breacher Terminator shield so you could stick the Stormbolter through it? I guess I would probably wait until the new Breacher units get released for the Horus Heresy and just use those. I think that'd probably be the cheating answer. So yeah, this is something I've just noticed that we probably need to clip this down just so we can get like a. It's actually not too bad. No, I quite like the twist that adds. We're going to keep that. We're going to let this dry a little bit more, and then I'm going to pop that in there. I'm just going to trim that down. It looks too much like a pistol grip at the moment. So the only trouble about doing so obviously you can see I wear glasses. I'm short-sighted, so my vision up close I've got very good vision up close. I can see incredibly well, but at distance I'm just terrible. I can see about that far in front of me before things start to get blurry. So often when I'm doing this kind of work, I have to kind of look over my glasses so I can see the kind of more fine detail work. I just can't look through my glasses and see as well up close. I can see it, just not as good. But yeah, so most of the time I'm just kind of like looking over my glasses, looking at stuff, but it's hard to do that and then look at a screen to make sure your hands are actually in the camera and not off the screen at the same time. Okay, so let's try and attach this now. We're going to go with heavy glue just to ensure that this fits properly. There's a couple of spots there. We've got a couple of contact points that we can add more to if necessary. But so far so good. There's a little sprue tab there. We'll okay. Let's hold that in place. I don't taking my glasses off entirely to paint my details. Still struggle though. Yeah, my biggest problem is that I can't even see my screen, my computer screen. If I take my glasses off, it's just like a blur. So I can't kind of completely remove my glasses, because if I'm kind of doing a video or filming or anything, I need to make sure that what I'm filming is actually visible on camera and the focus is right and things like that. So I have to kind of keep going. I've kind of end up looking like a librarian with like my glasses at the end of my nose, just like so I can do that, and I wear like it's not a very glamorous job at all. But yeah, it's not like I need varifocals or anything. It's just literally I can see pretty well up close, but it's just so much easier to see without the glasses on. I'm just going to leave that to one side just to let it dry, because it's kind of not a great contact point. Pete must be like Velma when he falls over. I can. To be fair, I genuinely, there's been situations where I have, I've taken off maybe at night or something. I've taken my glasses off and I've kind of got out of bed and not immediately put my glasses on, and I've not been able to find where my glasses are because I can't see where my glasses are if I've not got them on. Especially in my kind of like desk, I've got a lot of things. My glasses are black, and then I've got a lot of things like a mouse mat and the computers and stuff that's black. So from a distance, it'd be actually quite difficult for me to see. So yeah, pretty much Valma if I lost my glasses. So if you ever want to steal any dead animal bits when you're at an event, just kind of like ask to look through my glasses, and then I won't be able to see anything. So. Okay, so I think that is attached. So I'm going to glue this on. Oh no, not quite as well. What I might do is, I think there's a little bit more of a contact point. There's a little bit there. I might take away that tiny little skull because I think it's blocking most of the contact point between the shield and the hands. So hopefully that works a bit better. If not, we're going to use super glue. Baseface 1018. Glad to be catching the live stream. Currently painting some hazard stripes on some Mark II Marines. Very cool. I'm guessing you're doing the Iron Warriors then, in that case. For those of you playing at home, please mention Dead Out. Please take them. I've already done it. You're too late. I've mentioned it about 3 times already. I've not actually shown you the website though. Is that what you want to see? You want to see the Spare Parts Emporium? There we go. It's there. You can buy dead animal bits. If you're in the UK and the US and you buy them from me, I even box them up myself. So if you want me to write a little note to you, I can do. Just leave that in the comments of the order. But yeah, we've got boxes, we've got sprues, we've got stickers, and we've got another kit coming as well. So yeah, www.sparepartsemporium.com. I'm going to paste it in the chat. So you've only got yourselves to blame now for mentioning it. The bingo card. There. Monsieur Weasel. First time watching this live stream. Just wanted to say thanks for the content. Your videos are so educational, and they got me into kitbashing and sculpting on my second mini. Well, I'm very glad because it's I'll switch it off the spare parts emporium. The biggest thing about kitbashing is always the first one that you do, and I think once you've done the first one and you can see what is possible, you kind of want to push it a little bit further, even if you only do a little bit of a change, like, oh, I'll swap a shoulder pad, or I'll swap a head, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that's drying a little bit better now. Remove that skull. Whenever you're doing anything like kitbashing, it kind of gets quite... You just want to push it and do even more, and then you kind of realize, oh, this works actually, and then you start to do a little bit more, and then a little bit more builds from that, and then you end up building full-on Primarchs, and eventually. Hogdog096 over on Twitch. Any plans for more bits kits like Dead Animal bits in the future? Yeah. So as I kind of very unsubtly alluded to, there is another kit coming. It's in progress at the moment. It's currently in tooling at the moment, so hoping that by the end of August we'll have the tool completed in the first kind of shots of the completed sprue. But yeah, it's all very... I didn't have to do Kickstarter this time. I've been able to kind of use the money that's kind of I've been able to earn from doing the first kit. I've been able to just reinvest into making another kit because tooling is very expensive. But yeah, so we're just going straight for the kit. It means that we're going to be having a new kit this year. If I'd gone through Kickstarter, it would probably have not have been until next year. So I'm hoping it's going to be everyone's going to like it. It's a similar kind of. It's not the same theme. It's not dead animal bits at all anymore. It is very much its own thing. This is a problem that I've just spotted. I might need to stick a shoulder pad in there just to lock that in place. Oh no, which shoulder has the crux terminatus on it now? Where are my instructions that I found? Did I close it? Oh no, they're there. Okay. Oh no, we're okay. Yeah. Okay. I was just double checking. Oh, I've literally got a model there. I could have checked. Right. I'm just going to stick one of these shoulder pads on there just so that I get one in before the arm kind of gets locked out. Finally, not dead, not animal bits. Yeah. Is there any dead bits in there? No, there isn't. I mean, it depends. There are materials made from the remains of animals, but it's not a dead animal bits kit. It is very much a its own thing. Plot twist: it's just rocks. Yeah. The thing is, though, you I know it's a joke, but it's kind of something that would probably work quite well. I think if you kind of had an angle on it where you would maybe say it's not just rocks, it's like maybe little crystals, maybe more specialist type of rocks, like those kind of, when you get I forget what the type of material, but like the ones on Giant's Causeway, how they kind of like hexagonal, those kind of things, but you could do those. We're getting Pete's face as a head print confirmed. Not yet. No, dead legally distinct Xenos bits. That's on the list, but it's not there. We're not there yet as well. A few people have already seen them. Lord Blood Pulse 12, will there be any early bird type deal? Yeah, so I've not kind of figured out the logistics of it at the moment because I still need to kind of square away costings with Wargames Atlantic, who are producing the kit. But what my plan is basically to do a pre-order window. So once the kit is kind of like practically ready to go and is just waiting to be shipped out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably run a early bird kind of run where I'll sell boxes, so you can buy the boxes like you can do the dead animal bits, but I'm probably going to have some deals on just sprues. So if you're not interested in getting a box and you just want to get some sprues, you probably get like more sprues for less, but I'll probably do some bundles or something like that, maybe some bundles with dead animal bits, but I'll figure those out closer too. But yeah, there will be like I'm probably going to maybe run pre-orders for about a month, and then that should give me time to take the orders, submit how many I need, and then obviously handle those shippings myself. So yeah. Oh, you actually linked the Reddit instructions to the Terminator, not the site, by the way. Oh, I thought I did send it. Oh yeah. I thought I'd okay, that's good. Thank you for letting me know. I've included it now. I actually kitbashed my own Warsmith from parts of the Cataphracti Praetor, Cataphracti Sprue, and Terminus Tech Marine, since Games won't sell the resin Warsmith. Yeah, that's a shame. It is a shame that they don't sell those kind of things, because I do feel like I think we need to have like plastic characters for pretty much everything now. They've kind of doubled down so much on plastic characters that they are very distinct from non-plastic units now, and especially on the tabletop they can blend in quite a bit. Okay, so I think we've got the basis. I can't remember if anyone actually came up with any other options for this. Aesthetics, I kind of got quite distracted. A few people mentioned stuff about the aesthetics, but the Imperial Fist little iconography works quite nicely there, so I'm just going to stick that on now, just so it's there. This new set is going to be all of your extra storage bits for your non-Raptor Space Marines. There is some storage in there. It's not handy storage bits. That is also on the list of things to do in the future. But there is actually some pouches in there. I've made sure there's some pouches. I couldn't wait too long without including the pouches, so kind of thought, you know what, let's get some in there straight away. But yeah, there's some really cool. I've shared some stuff with you guys already, and anyone who's seen me at an event has seen some of the stuff as well. But things have changed a little bit, so I don't want to kind of share anything else until I've got more of a concrete. Okay, so at the moment it's not too dissimilar from the regular one. The biggest difference is obviously having a Storm Shield and a Power Fist. We can probably get some more kind of aesthetic choices in this. So let's have a look in the Horus Heresy range and see what we can borrow from there. By the way, earlier you mentioned that Logan being almost Primarch size. I said that Belial is just as big. I never actually noticed that one. Let's have a look. I only realised that Logan was so big because people were sharing it, but I didn't see the same. Let's have a look. Yeah, you know what? You're right. He's pretty chunky. I mean, he's on a rock, I guess, which kind of adds a little bit of size to him, but you know what? That's not... It's not too dissimilar in size. His pose is also quite similar to Gilliman's as well. So, you know, that might not... Yeah, that might be a good option for doing some more Primarch builds in the future. It means I don't have to keep relying on doing the lion every single time. Oh, I'm actually not on there. There we go. Sorry, guys. I keep forgetting to do that. I think because I'm on the screen, everyone else can see it as well. But yeah, you can see that Belial is pretty much the same size as the other guys. Yeah. Anyway. I think the shield needs to be bigger. Yeah, I think the shields kind of ended up being a little bit... Like a big shield would work better, I think. The shield is a little bit smaller. I think maybe one of these ones would have worked well at the Deathwing Knights, but they would require more work, I think, to just trim down, and you'd have to add stuff back on. But it would mean you could actually paint on a really big fist there, so that's an option. Again, this is the great thing about the prototypes. You don't always know what's going to work until stuff's been assembled. But yeah. I think it's bigger than a Storm Shield, though. The regular Storm Shields are quite small, aren't they? If I remember rightly, they're just square-shaped. Right, okay, so let's get some decorative pieces now. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have in the old bits boxes. Okay, so I'm looking for more decorative pieces rather than equipment. So here we go. The command squad for this is pretty cool. This is the Horus Heresy command squad. Obviously those shields are very, very small. Much too small to be used for the Terminator. But yeah, this has a lot of those kind of aesthetics, those kind of Roman-inspired aesthetics. So we could possibly use one of those. One of the kits does have... I don't think there's any here. I might have to borrow them from somewhere else, but... Tarugis would look quite nice as well. What else do we have? What else do we have? Don't appear to have any of the plumes. So, where are they? Do I have any of the plumes in here? I definitely have some, but I don't know where they are. They must still be attached to the sprues, which is weird because I thought... Oh, there we go. That's one. Okay. So I don't think this will work super easily with a Terminator, simply because of the way Terminators work, but the plumes, I quite like the idea of a plume. The thing is, he's kind of starting to look, at the moment, without the paint on him, it looks very much like a... Does that look weird? I can't decide if that looks weird or not. It kind of looks like he's got a brush attachment that he can kind of like clean the ceilings with as he walks along corridors. Kind of like those like little, like kitten mittens that you can that you can attach the cats so they can clean the floor as they're going along. Okay. Okay. I don't think astronaut nose brush. Yeah. I don't think it's going to work particularly well for this. I didn't think it would do, but I kind of wanted just to try it out of interest. It's one of those ones where you kind of get an idea and you're thinking, could that work? Could that work? And it just doesn't. So it's worth a try. It's always worth a try. What other options do we have? Let's see what we've got. I think I've got my best bet is potentially going to be either something Ultramarines or maybe something from if I can find where I've put it, which is probably not because I lose things all the time. Bit too much on that one. A small banner might be better. That could sit above the shoulders. Yeah, it kind of just fit into the theme of Pedro Cantor, doesn't it? Where, yeah, has that kind of vibe to him. I think I might have. Do I have one of these somewhere? Do I have one of those somewhere? I might do. Bear with me. So I have a few parts left over from my Saturnine Terminator, but I think these are probably going to be a bit too big. I can probably cut that down though, but if you let me switch it. There we go. Right. So this is kind of what I was thinking. This obviously works quite well for the Saturn, but it's just goes to show how much bigger the Saturnine Praetor is compared to regular Terminators. But I quite like that aesthetic. I also have a few other bits I can possibly reused. The helmets were how those helmets actually work really well. Let me just see how that works in terms of the size. Oh, actually, that's a cool helmet as well. Teeny tiny bit too big, I think. That's a shame. Oh, actually, no, it would work if I just flattened it out, actually. Does that scream Fist? Is that maybe a little bit too Iron Hands or Iron Warriors or something? Maybe that one? Or is that too kind of like Black Templars? Or what are we thinking? What's the other option for the head? So which one are we thinking? We're thinking this one? It kind of fits that kind of bulwark aesthetic, doesn't it? It's quite nice. Yeah, I'll just go for that one. This is the Saturnine Praetor head. Let me get the sprue for the regular Saturnines. So we have a few head options on this as well. Again, these are kind of similar kind of style. I think that would look quite nice. What else do we have? So we have those stars, quite similar to the Praetor helmets that we just looked at. With is there any more in here? I feel like there should be more heads than that, but maybe there isn't. Yeah. Okay. Let's go for that one. I'll use this head. I've got another Praetor somewhere anyway, so I can borrow that head if I need to. So we're going to need to clip this away just because the Terminators don't have any necks, so we need to make sure this fits in. We might need it a little bit lower than that. Teensy bit lower than that. Okay, actually not too bad. You can see it. Let's see what it looks like against the base, just because I think that always indicates how much you have, how much of the pose it affects. So let me find a base for the go with this guy. So again, like I was saying earlier, when you come to doing things like choosing the poses as well, you also need to like match the head. Obviously, I haven't got the knee pads on there yet, so let's just quickly get those on as well, just so we can get a better idea of what the model looks like. But yeah, how you position the head can also play a big part of it, and you can't always see how the model looks until you maybe got it on a base, and you can kind of hold it against. You can use the base as an idea of the plane, so you can see that the torso leans probably ever so slightly forward, and obviously matches the forward momentum. So if you have the head looking forward and then up a little bit like that, probably not quite as up. That needs to go down a bit more, but it gives you an idea of how you need to pose the head then, because you can have the pose of the head matching the direction of movement or matching where they're pointing or anything like that. So it's always good to make sure that your heads match everything else. shave that down a tiny little bit more, just so it sits a little bit more snugly into the recess there. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we're just going to add a bit of glue, and that's the head in place. And the model's pretty much done in terms of the basics. Not too over the top really in terms of the basic stuff. I think some heads like this would be very, very cool. Some kind of more armored heads that fit that. I guess these guys are meant to be, with them having a storm shield and having a power fist, they're kind of meant to take on the tougher foes, soak up a bit of damage as well as dishing it out in close combat. There's definitely more stuff we can add to this though. It's just finding exactly what works and what doesn't. Again, the stuff that we have in these kits would work quite nicely. The kind of the Roman inspired things. There's probably more of these parts that the ropes would work. I have to clip that down quite a little bit, so I'm going to avoid that for now. I would like to use that on something else. I've got an idea for that one, so I'm going to save that. But yeah, anything like that. There are also some ultramarine stuff. Let's see if there is anything of those that I can borrow. I think I've already used some parts, but let's have a look. $40k ultramarines. So there's the Primus upgrade sprue, and then there's the regular sprue, if it's still going. Okay, this one. Obviously, anything that's very strongly. We use these on a model, so that I can't use those, but something like that would work. I actually think that even some of these shoulder pads, they would need a bit of trimming. That one would work well. That one would work well. That one would work very well if you just remove that and then put a fist in the middle of it. What else do we have? The Primus one's a little bit more generic, I think. Not quite as much to use. I actually think this head would work well for Crimson Fists, personally. Very nice. Do we have anything else on here that we can use instead? Everything's a little bit too Imperial Fist specific, I think. Your local store must love you, coming to buy a whole kit for just 3 bits in it. Obviously, when it ends up being your job, it's a little bit more justified, and you kind of have a reason for buying a kit. And obviously, being on the I get the Games Workshop stuff, the new stuff, so even if I don't use it at the time, it usually just sits in my kind of cabinet and waiting. Just kind of waiting for future uses. There's not so many aesthetic parts on these Saturnine Terminator kits. Most of the kind of the decorative parts seem to be on the Praetor. So that's probably just to keep them generic. I would like something to go on the belt, but I'm not 100% sure what. I think maybe just some generic stuff I think would work quite nicely for that. Let's grab the bits box out and see what we've got in here. So, decorative pieces. What do we have? What do we have? Marksman honors. The leather dangly bits would look cool. Yeah, I think they would actually. The that one in particular, I think, would work well with the little fist on it. Yeah, I think that's a good call. It kind of fits that aesthetic still. I might stick a purity seal on there just for good measure. I don't usually use purity seals. Most of my conversions end up not using them, so it'd be quite nice to finally get one on there. I also need to go on the little side skirts as well, actually. I forgot to do that so far. Don't want to forget those. Let's double check which ways these ones go. I think that's the other side. Probably should have been done before I put the arms on, but you live and you learn. Okay, so let's stick that little Imperial Fist icon on, which is going to be doubled up as a Crimson Fist icon. Oh no, that's the... Oh, I didn't even clip it off yet. I got so distracted by grabbing Purity Seals, I completely forgot. Maybe an Orc Skull. Yeah, not a bad idea, actually. I think that would work quite well. Let me see. I've got the Battlefield Trophies box and the Citadel Skulls as well, so let me grab one of those and then see how that looks. Okay, let's grab an Orc Skull and see how we can incorporate that into the model. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to grab the Orc Skulls with that lower jaw just because they're a little bit smaller profile. They don't take up quite as much space. Now, probably the basic place that I could pop it would be... I'm tempted to maybe... I think placing it on top. I don't know. How's that look? Too much? Could possibly flatten this section down a little bit so it's a little bit more flush against the torso. Yeah, I might go for that one. I'm going to stick that on there. I'm going to stick it on and just flatten that out. It's already quite flat, but... Needed something either side of candle. I think candles would maybe go a little bit too far down the... Black Templars. A bit too chaosy. Middle of the shield. So the other place that I'm thinking as well is just popping it at the back, just as like a little extra detail on the belt. Nothing too ostentatious, nothing too... And then maybe sticking a Purity Seal on it. If you had the open hand, it could be in... Yeah, it could be. Yeah, let's kind of pop it on the back. Yeah, I think the only trouble with putting it there is it kind of change by having a head above the head. It kind of makes you look at the taller head, so it makes him look almost like he's trying to make himself look taller than he actually is. I'm going to stick it on the back. I think as cool as it looks, this wasn't really supposed to be the over the top kind of Orc Hunter unit that we were planning originally. This is a different unit. Maybe if I came across that other one in the future, then it could potentially be something I looked at. But let's stick this on it and then stick a Purity Seal on there just for good measure, just to show that it's been sanctified against any corrupting influences. There we go. Okay, I think I'm going to call that done, and we've swooped in just before the 9 o'clock as well, so I'm quite happy that that's worked out quite nicely. Also, just noticed the belt, that the sword, that's pretty cool. That'd work very nice for if I was building maybe like a normal unit. Obviously not the Terminator, but these work quite nicely because they're not specifically Ultramarines. They have very Ultramarine adjacent stylings. These aren't. These are more like Dark Angels, but these kind of short swords. But yeah, quite happy with that. It kind of conveys what I wanted it to. At the moment, it looks very Imperial Fist, but I think that's just what's going to happen. Most people are going to see this icon and think Imperial Fist. Once this was painted up and it had a big red fist, and this was painted in the Imperial Fist colours, no, not Imperial Fist, Crimson Fist colours, I think it'd be quite clear as to what it is. The little skull on the back as well, it's just a little extra detail. I think if I was going to be doing this as maybe more of a full unit, or if I had more time to work on this, I definitely would want to incorporate some sort of like Tarugi's design down the front here. I think that would work really well. It'd be a nice callback to the Pedro Cantor model. Having that kind of that style would work really nicely. I think it'd be nice to have that represented on the unit, and it would very clearly signify this. But yeah, I think as a specific unit for the Crimson Fist, it has a fist, it has a shield, it has an orc skull, it has fist iconography. I think it kind of shows exactly, it shows what it's supposed to be, I hope. But yeah. Well, would you do a painting video on this dude? So, possibly. So kind of what I'm doing these videos for as well is just a way of working out what works as an idea, because I have a lot of ideas which I often start and I don't end up taking anywhere further for a video. I just end up doing them for myself and don't actually progress much further than that. So I may do this in the future if I feel like I need the idea, but the trouble is the moment my ideas list is much longer than my video output is capable of trimming down. So possibly. But Eshe Carp, I'm sorry you missed the stream. It will be available as a VOD afterwards, but yeah, sorry for that one. But yeah, that was the... we never came up with a name, did we? And that's one thing we never came up with. I think I came up with the names in the last Blood Angels video, but we never came up. So everyone, let's before we come to the end of the video, let's get some ideas in for what this guy's called. What is the specialist unit name for the Crimson Fists that have this loadout? Let me get the camera focus working right. There we go. Change the focus again because I've changed the camera position. Okay. Yeah, leave me your ideas for what you think this guy should be called. Just before we finish the video, let's see what we can come up with. Defenders of Rin, I quite like that one. That's kind of fits the aesthetic quite nicely. Bulwark is quite a nice reference to the Space Marine 2 game. Vermilion Shields, Phalanx, Terminator Wardens. Wardens, I think, might have been taken by... I feel like they might have been taken by Dark Angels. I don't know. I feel like that rings a bell, but I can't place where. The Red Bulwark. I think Crimson Bulwark would be red. I think is maybe a little bit more Blood Angels. Burled Crimson. Is it Rin's World? Is that the actual name of the world that's a home world, or was a home world or something? I admit that I'm not super. Oh yeah, Invasion of Rin's World. Survivors of the Invasion of Rin's World M41. Quite like the idea of a Rin's kind of aesthetic too. I think that works quite nicely. Yeah, Rin's World. Okay. SJ Carper, thank you very much for the gifted membership. I appreciate that. Oops, I'm trying to scroll the chat and I can't seem to manage it. Oh, thank you for your message as well. Oh no, I've just stopped the camera. I'll watch and listen at work. Keep up the good work, mate. And once I get time for myself, my own work, I'll be taking some of your ideas to work into my miniatures. It's great to hear. Well, thank you very much for your for gifting the membership as well. I appreciate that. There we go, Goose. You get early access to some videos as well. You also get to. You should also be able to watch the first half of the Lorgar, Gene Stealer Cult Lorgar video as well. You should have access to that now. So, Cantorian Terminators, I quite like that one. Cantorian Guard, Cantorian Terminators, Rin Shield. Wasn't what was the name of? Oh, is it Alves? Drago Alves, known as Master of the Shield and charged with defending the New Rin City on his home world, was killed during the invasion of Wind's World. Okay. Quite like. I like the idea of the Cantorian Guard, and I think Alves would be a nice little nod to one of their characters. So maybe the Alvesian Guard. Oh no, yeah, Alvesian Guard. Everyone's got some really good ideas. Games Workshop should hire us. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Games Workshop employees just kind of watching these videos, thinking, "Oh, what can we do? What kind of ideas can we do?" I think the Shield of Alves works very well for a character, or maybe like an Emperor's Champion kind of character. To be fair, actually, this could be a champion as opposed to being like a unit. It could be like a bit more of like the Emperor's Champion. I quite like that. I quite like that aspect. Okay, let's go for the Shield of Alves. This guy's now a character. He's not a unit anymore. It's a Emperor's Champion kind of like deal. It's somebody who is like a character you can add to Terminator units. If I ever did this as a full video, it would also allow me to go a little bit harder with the customizations. Okay. Jerk Cola on Twitch, where's that dangly fist bit from? It's from the Imperial Fist upgrade sprue. Yeah. Okay. I think I like the idea of the Shield of Shield of Alves, and maybe as a character. I know we started out as a unit, but I think it would also work as a character, maybe. I know the Empress Champion's like on the eve of battle, someone takes the vow and becomes the Empress Champion. I guess it could be a similar kind of vibe. It could be someone who is one of the Terminator, one of the first company members, takes on the vow instead, and becomes a character who leads other Terminators. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. I think we have lots of fantastic ideas there. So thank you very much, everyone who has contributed, because this has been a group effort after all. I know I've been the one who's building it, and I pretty much had the final say about everything, but this has been proof that Warhammer by committee can actually work. So yeah, thank you very much for everyone who has joined the live stream, everyone who has submitted their ideas for what we could do with the model, what kind of parts we could use on him, the names, give me feedback on everything. This is kind of what I like for... I'm just seeing what Goose has said. I'm not repeating that. You can basically... I've completely lost my trail of thought now. But yeah, this is what I want to do with these streams going forward. Have more of like a community kind of, rather than just watching me just build something. Kind of have more of a back and forth kind of, I suppose, a dialogue about what we're building. And yeah, I appreciate everyone who's joined. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed on Twitch. SJ Carp for gifting the membership. Cat God for the super chats as well. So thank you very much for everyone who has been subscribed, everyone who's a member, patron supporter. Really, really appreciate it. There's a video coming in a couple of weeks, but probably next time I see you will be next Wednesday when we have another live stream. So as always, if you have any ideas for what you'd like to see me tackle in the next one, it's going to be similar to like this kind of style. So maybe coming up with new units, new characters, things like that. Leave me your ideas when this video goes on the VOD on YouTube. Just leave your comments down below. I'll have a quick check of them before next week, and we can go ahead with that. So yeah, the stream is a bashagarchy run by a kitbasher. Yeah, we're kind of coming up with our own. I guess maybe is it more of a technocracy, because there's maybe like there's a group of people who understand how the stuff works. We've got like an expertise in a particular group. I've been playing a lot of Victoria 3, as you can tell. How many hours have I got on Victoria 3? Let's have a look. 713 hours on Victoria 3. So I do like Victoria games. So if you want to see a live stream of games as well in the future, then do let me know. I might do some probably Warhammer games rather than doing generic ones. I'm not a fantastic game streamer, but it's always an option if I don't fancy doing kit bashing. So anyway, before I waffle on, yeah, I shall see you all on the next stream. And let me just check everything is going to close properly before I go. But yeah, cool. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time. See you next Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Bye.